You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and we've got a great show for you today. You're watching the Business Talk Show, and it wouldn't be complete without my guest, co-host, and friend. Oh my gosh, I said guest. Co-host, Mr. Cini, rock star, phenomenal person, human being.
For a second there, I thought I'd been promoted.
I know. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. How are you today?
I'm doing really well today, thank you. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I've looked at Christa Pusateri as our guest today. She's an expert in cybersecurity. And unlike most nerds, she has people skills. And she's also an expert in how you work with people and how do you teach people to be adaptable. And I just think it's going to be a great conversation.
It's a really important topic. And I know you mentioned that you have some experience in this area as well.
I was a techie for a long time. Part of what I did at NBC when I was there for 15 years was technical project management. And many of those projects involved building firewalls and creating secure domains for internet access, things like that. I mean, obviously, a company like GE, which owned NBC at the time, is pretty concerned about hackers. I've also had some experience being hacked, so I can relate that as the conversation proceeds. It's pretty funny. So,
wow.
People like us who spend so much time now on the internet, spend as much time as we do now on the internet, and people out there who own businesses and who work for businesses have never been as exposed as they are today to criminal elements all over the world. And most of the time, they're fat, dumb, and happy and kind of ignore the whole idea of the risk and don't really pay much attention to it. But sooner or later, stuff hits the wall. And that's where Christa comes in, among other things.
Thanks for sharing that, Mr. Cini. I'd love to hear and for you to share with our audience, as always, what are you doing at BCAT, the company that you have, your baby? What's going on there before we bring Christa out?
BCAT is the Brand and Culture Alignment Toolkit. It's a systematic method for aligning people in an organization with the purpose they serve. An awful lot of companies out there that are concerned about how to bring their workforce back to work. Some of them will be coming back in person. Many will be rejoining companies, but continuing to work from home or remote locations. When your team is scattered all over the world, how do you build that team? What we found is that you build an effective team around a purpose, not a place. And that if you align your people with your purpose, it doesn't matter where they are, they're as committed and as engaged in their work as if they were present physically.
And that is so important right now, isn't it? It's always been important. You know, I come from 18 years of employee recognition and cultural alignment, bringing people together. And now that is so paramount, what you're doing. People need to feel that they're valued. They need to understand how to work together. And also in terms of what Christa does, they need to feel that they're safe where they are and that their leaders really care about them across the board.
It's fun work too. Honestly, it's very rewarding. So thanks for the chance to talk about that, Doc. Appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. Before we bring Christa out, we're going to take a quick break and hear from a couple of our sponsors, and then we'll be back with the interview. So thanks so much. Stay with us here on USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. Located at 121 Haddon Avenue in Westmont, New Jersey, is Margie Cedrone, artisan jeweler. Margie's been in business for more than 30 years. She works with her clients to create custom pieces of jewelry to reflect their personality and help them make their own bold statement. Starting in the renowned Jewelers Row in Center City, Philadelphia in 1988, Margie works directly with her clients to develop one-of-a-kind pieces such as necklaces, engagement rings, wedding bands, unique watches and tennis bracelets, as well as a myriad of rings and earrings for everyone in your family. She also has worked directly with Dr. Jacalyn over the years, creating unique pieces of jewelry to reflect her personality. She does pearl stringing and repairs on site at 121 Haddon Avenue. Call or text Margie at 215-384-7155. Margie Cedrone Jewelry is open by appointment only. Make your own bold statement.
Have you just lost your job or have been laid off and you are looking to transition to a new job or career? Maybe you have even tried submitting tons of applications and yet you keep getting turned down for jobs you qualify for. Don't wait until you become overwhelmed with rejections when you can easily transition or get your dream job. Let MJW Careers guide you to the right career path and a better, brighter future. At MJW Careers, we know what hiring managers are looking for, and our goal is to land you the job you deserve. What makes MJW Careers a wonderful provider over other services is our pragmatic and scientific approach to resume writing. There are rules, there are visual cues, there are content best practices. We understand those and work within the boundaries to ensure our clients' messaging appeals to the decision makers. Our career consultants will help you transition into new roles quickly and effectively. With our experience in virtually every industry, we will provide direction in the frustrating job market by helping you write a customized, professional resume and prepare you for your interview as well. Join the great number of people we have helped scale up to greater things in their careers. Let us help you on your career journey. Come visit us, www.jobstickers.com, to learn more and grab a free resume review or ebook.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome back to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. You're watching the Business Talk Show starring Al Cini. And Al, we've got a great guest. What do you say we bring her out?
Great.
Our guest today is Christa Pusateri. I hope I said that right. She's an advocate for forward-thinking cybersecurity tech and business leaders and solutions to unite and empower pioneers of the virtual frontier. Welcome.
Hey, Christa.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn and Al. Wonderful to be here with you today.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
It's nice to have you. Where are you joining us from? Are you in Florida?
So I'm actually traveling. I went to the opposite of the continent. I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia today. So joining you from Canada.
Fantastic. How was it traveling?
It's been a journey for sure. I sold my house in Florida in June, took off across the country, traveled by myself in my Explorer for the first time in my life, just taking off on my own. Went up through California, up through Oregon, Washington, and now I am here in Vancouver, spending a little bit of time working on a project that is really all about securing the future. And to Al's point on aligning culture with purpose, definitely interested in that. Is that part of the project that I am contributing on as well. So it's an incredible new frontier we have here.
Well, after the program, we've got something to talk about. I'll look forward to that, Christa. But I'm reading your background, and I know that you have a technology background in cybersecurity, and I don't want to ignore that because it's an area of concern for the reasons we mentioned before you joined us on the program, because everybody's exposed these days. Because I just had my website taken down by Russian hackers. It was hosted by GoDaddy, and the server I was on, along with a couple of hundred other websites, was taken down by, they're not sharing the details with me. But before this happened, I'd gotten a whole lot of warnings from WordPress that various addresses with .ru extensions were trying to hack into my administrative account. And I didn't really pay very much attention to it. My background is cybersecurity, or at least in part cybersecurity, which means if I'm not paying attention to it, nobody's paying attention to it. So I don't think people realize how much they have at risk. Maybe you could characterize that for them?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Alan. It is, that's one of my core passions, because in order to create the future that, I envisioned as a kid, or when I read the book Hot, Flat, and Crowded by Thomas Friedman, he described this whole kind of Jetsons future, right? And in order to get there, we've got to actually be able to secure the systems that empower and enable all of the cool tech, if you will. So my background, my degree is in advertising and public relations with a master's in business. But I've always been kind of that geek. As soon as the computer came out, I was asking my mom, writing down like Kellogg's.com and all these web addresses to show her why I needed a computer and why I needed to get online and go on, AOL chat rooms, those things when I was a kid. So I've always been pretty technically oriented and geeky, if you will. And when I joined Gartner back in 2009, which Gartner's the world's largest research and advisory firm for IT and technology decisions. So they advise business leaders on how to make those decisions. The most interesting part of the research was in cybersecurity. And there is, it's a global asymmetrical warfare that's going on right now. Every nation state, every nation has its own cybersecurity protection, as well as defense and offense. You also have organized crime. And then you've got kind of the hackers in the basement, or the script kiddies, as they'll call them. So there is a lot to be on the lookout for. And typically as business owners, we've got a million other things to take care of. So small business and cybersecurity is absolutely a big topic right now, and a challenge that everyone's dealing with. So to your point, yes, websites are being hacked. There are, especially with the transition to work from home, there are absolutely more risks, greater attack surface, and people, I believe, as business leaders, are becoming more aware of those risks, and also of the kind of basic cybersecurity hygiene that needs to take place in order to protect your information and your assets.
Christa, this is great. And I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit here, because you've been advocating two things. And so I'm going to try to make the leap between cybersecurity, which is a kind of a technological issue, and futurism, which is really your passion. Your passion is about creating a better future. So let me see if I can't build a bridge, and hopefully I won't fall off that bridge and drown. Here we go. We start with this whole idea of technology and securing it. That's cybersecurity, to make sure that the systems we communicate over, it really is all about communication. And all that communication happens over technology platforms that need to be protected and need to be secured. Now, most people believe that the way you protect a technology system from invasion is by crossing your T's, dotting your I's, and following the processes, installing the antivirus software, building the firewalls, widgets, right? But what I've learned from my experience is that the number one gift in preventing cybersecurity problems is imagination, creativity, knowing what could happen and anticipating what might happen rather than dealing with what happened last week, if you know what I mean, right? And that's the future, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
All right, Christa, talk about the futurist, Christa, because that fascinates me.
Absolutely, Al. And they say the biggest problem in security is not the technology and it's not even the process, but they say it's the people, right? The weakest link is the people on the front end who have access to information because they need it for their work, and they are typically wanting to be very helpful. So you have the hackers or the black hats or the bad guys, whatever you want to call them, who will use social engineering, which is essentially pretending to be, tech support and asking a receptionist to help them out to work on a system or a problem. Any of these things, there's spear phishing, there is, the attacks that are generally made against people. So it's stealing passwords and credentials, and also, there are definitely things that happen when people don't follow the process, when they don't do vulnerability management, scan their assets, and actually know where those weaknesses are. But to your point on imagination and creativity, absolutely. When I work with cybersecurity experts, I don't consider myself an expert. I consider myself a connector of experts and a facilitator of collaboration. So when I do that, and I talk to chief information security officers or hiring managers, people who are trying to fill I think it's almost 2 million unfilled jobs in cybersecurity that exist out there. They're looking for people who are creative, who can think like a hacker and understand those areas of weaknesses to get inside the systems, which typically they tend to be the people or the holes that are out there from unpatched known vulnerabilities. Then they are, they're looking to hire people who can think like that and get one step ahead, because the hacker only has to be right, that one time to get through. As protectors of the business, as cybersecurity experts, you got to be on guard all the time, looking out for all of those potential threats and risks.
That's important, which means you have
So
to pay
interesting.
for notification, and you've got to really be vigilant. Great point, Christa.
I've got 1,000 questions, but I'll try to limit it down to, first of all, I want to congratulate you for selling your home during the pandemic and getting on the road and just driving and going to see other places. That had to be so liberating. How does it feel?
Yeah, well, I'm coming to this conclusion that life is a game, and this is just a simulation that we get to come into and learn all sorts of lessons. And it really felt like a racing game when I was driving through Texas and seeing all of these mountains and deserts and rainbows, and there were just so many incredible signs, and I just felt so empowered having worked from home. I've worked remotely the last 10 years, pre-pandemic, and I didn't drive a whole lot on my own. So this was kind of my opportunity to make up for lost time, and it was a great experience.
Great.
Well done. I also, before I retired last year from my corporate career, I always worked from home for, a long, long time. So my two questions for you are, first of all, what do we have to be concerned about as we're traveling and we're getting on and off of Wi-Fi's? And then the second question, which is pretty big, and I'm just going from watching Law and Order SVU, what is the dark net, and does it have any potential impact on what it is that we're doing?
Yeah, great question. So when you're traveling, typically, cybersecurity experts will tell you don't use public Wi-Fi unless you have a VPN you can trust. So I do use a VPN both on my mobile phone as well as my laptop anytime that I'd be connected to public or guest Wi-Fi. I also, if it doesn't have a password to secure it, you're not using a VPN, just be aware that anything that you are sending essentially over the wire could be viewed and seen. So those are definitely kind of basics for travel. If you can use your own cellular Wi-Fi, connect that to your laptop, that's always a good choice as well. Be mindful too when you're in airports or in any public place, anytime you're checking things, just try to be aware of who's around you and, never give out your passwords. I've heard so many stories and read so many books. Hacking Humans is a good one by Christopher Hadney. And there'll be these exercises where they'll just kind of be in a bar and the hackers will be like, oh yeah, my birthday is such and such date and I used to live on this road. What about you? And so if you get any of those kind of personal questions, be quite weary. So I think that that may answer the first question on staying safe while traveling. The second question, Dr. Jacalyn, remind me, I know there was another question in there.
Yes. So thank you for that. One thing before we get to the second question, for anyone who doesn't know what a VPN is, virtual private network, can you just share with them what that is? And also, people can purchase these devices, mobile devices, where they can get their own Wi-Fi, correct?
Yeah, you can get the, from your mobile phone provider. I just have like a hotspot on my phone that I can use to then connect to my laptop. The VPN, if you just Google VPN, and you do want to do a little bit of digging to know where it comes from. A lot of the VPNs will come from different countries. Some of the cybersecurity products will come from different countries that then later on get banned. So you do want to do a little bit of background checking there, but a VPN is basically a virtual private network that kind of forms your own private tube, if you will. If you think about when you're sending information and you're receiving information to your device, think about it like a train. And if you're not using a VPN, you're kind of just out there in the open and anybody can see through the windows. They can jump on board, jump off board. If you're using a VPN, it's like creating a tunnel that travels along before you travel and protects you along the way.
That's great. Really
Thank you
helpful.
so much. Really good information. Okay, so my question was, and a lot of this is from watching, during the pandemic, Netflix or Law and Order SVU. It's like they're using the dark net, and it's like, so I know like dark net can be basically in the TV shows that's used for doing things that are illegal, right? But does that have any impact on what it is we're doing on a VPN or a Wi-Fi? Do they ever cross?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the way I think about the dark net or the dark web is basically it's not connected to your general browsers like your Google Chrome or your Internet Explorer. You're not searching the dark web, if you will. It's out of reach of the traditional and, let's say, above board searches. So there are browsers like the Tor browser and other ones that will allow you to go into the dark web, which you think about the web, it's really just the connection of everybody's computers. So you've got lots of computers out there that are running nefarious actions that have, they may be doing ransomware as a service, for example. There are big businesses that operate in the dark web that you could actually pay somebody to create a ransomware attack against someone else. Those are things that can be done on the dark web. I don't spend time there personally, but there are many different cybersecurity companies. They're called threat intelligence companies that live on the dark web. They monitor it. They are, they're collecting information so that in the event of breaches that you've got some forensics, some ways to go back and actually find out how these things originated and hopefully hunt down and, actually bring some sort of justice to the people perpetrating these events.
Wow, that's
difficult.
so fascinating. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, the thing I would add there is, why does this stuff keep occurring? Why is it so difficult to find out when people are hacking your systems? Because of the anonymity that the dark web allows, because people can change identity so quickly. And one, account may be opened for just a split second just to facilitate a transaction of stolen funds, and then it's completely closed, and there are systems and facilitation that allows that to be done anonymously.
There's so much to know. I'm wondering if you could just touch on this, because I think this would help a lot of people. These emails get sent to us. It's been happening a lot from all different places, but Apple, for example, your credit card has expired or your information is incorrect. Click here. And they have all these things to click. And then I haven't done it, but you click and then they get it, your bank account information, other information. So what should people look out for that, Christa?
Yeah, so that's called phishing, and it is basically or email phishing. So you're going in there. They are sending out fake emails, and what you want to look for, typically, if you get anything that looks like your bank account, but there's going to be something that's off. Maybe they're not using your actual first name. Maybe it's sent to a larger list. So if you look at the to field and who it's to, that can be a clue. And if you look at who it's from, typically they're going to spoof the alias. So if it was from Bank of America, the hackers are going to say Bank of America. But if you look underneath it and you see the actual email address it's coming from, then it may be some sort of Gmail account, or it may be not a official Bank of America account. You want to look and make sure that there aren't any typos, that the web addresses aren't slightly off, and if there's any sort of spelling errors, anything like that. It's interesting now too, because hackers use marketing tactics, and now companies that are doing marketing are also starting to get people questioning, if there's a typo here, maybe this is a phishing email, or maybe it's spam. So it goes both ways in, one, as a consumer, being really sure that you're proofreading and making sure that anything that you're putting your credentials into, that you've gone to that site. If it says come log into this site, don't click on the link, just go to your bank account, log into your bank account, so that way you're not following their links, which could be malicious links.
Interesting. I do want to point out, Dr. Jacalyn, that they recently broke into the apartment of a prince in Liberia who had passed away, and they found $45 million that he'd been trying to give away for the last 20 years.
Yes, I think a lot of us have seen those letters that have come in the mail. Please give money, send the money.
Oh,
yes.
I just need a place to store $20 million. Would you mind if I parked it in your bank account? All I need is your account and routing number. And I know. And, they're for every 100 people who realize that's a scam, one or two are going to get sucked into that. And that's all they need.
I hate to say, but I do know people who've sent the money, believe it or not.
I know one really smart guy who fell for, I'm calling from Microsoft and we need the password to your computer because you've been hacked and have a virus.
Yeah.
That's a common thing these days. Yeah.
That one is a common one, and that's difficult because, that could be real. You could have been, hacked, but Microsoft's not typically going to call you for that. So you definitely want to be on the lookout there. And also, as you're thinking about protecting yourself and protecting your family, one of the best tips I've found too is actually from Christopher Hagnaghi from Hacking Humans, is if you have older parents, maybe grandparents, make sure you talk to them about having a safe word, which means there are also scams where people will call the elderly and say that they've kidnapped, you as an individual, they have you, and they need ransom sent to them in order to release you. So if you have anyone that's elderly in your life that could potentially be a target, just make sure you've got a word. Maybe it's like elephant or whatever, some sort of just random word that they know that they can ask if they get any of these calls to say, what is what's the safe word or the password. And if they have that password, then they know it's legit. If they don't, then they know they can just hang up and that it is a scam. So that's one thing I recommend. And then just as a business owner, just ensure that you know what your attack surface is. So I also am a contractor for a company called Nodeware, and they are a vulnerability scanner and management system, which essentially just lets you see all of the devices that are connected to your network and what weaknesses or vulnerabilities exist on them, so that you can patch and make sure that nobody's sneaking in to holes and gaps that are already known to exist.
Very helpful.
Thank you for sharing that, because I do know I lived in Florida for a while, and my family was there. A lot of scams towards the elderly people, senior citizens, and unfortunately, they're trusting in some cases, and they're taken advantage of, and it creates a very bad situation.
True.
Yeah, and I think that's
a question.
The worst of it.
Sorry, I have so many questions. I just go on. So another question I have is, I have I shouldn't say what kind of computer I have. I have a computer, and I have this system that I bought to run scans, and it found something, and it wanted me to download something else. And I didn't do it because I thought, how do I even know how do you know what you can trust and what you can't trust?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that is the biggest challenge too. Everything's moving so quickly today that it can be really difficult to know what you can actually trust and what you can't trust. So I recommend working with they call them managed service providers or managed security service providers. And it's a third party, just like you may or may not do your own accounting or your own bookkeeping. Having someone, a trusted partner, to help you with your cybersecurity, I think is a really good a good move in today's age, because it can take a lot of time to research those links, make sure that what you are downloading is not further infecting your machine. As long as you're using like a reputable antivirus system, then you should be okay with the recommendations, but it's always good to have somebody who is very knowledgeable that you can call, or better yet, that will call you to let you know when something's going wrong with your systems.
Thank you. Al, I have another question. Do you have one you want to ask?
You sound like you've been hacked, Dr. Jack.
No, I'm really into technology. I just love it.
Sure.
So question I have, this actually happened to me yesterday. I was talking to someone at a call center about something, and the guy was really nice, gave me a lot of great information. He said, hey, why don't you let me remote into your device so that I can take a look at X, Y, and Z? And I thought, oh, he sounds nice. And we talked about his son, and he's going on vacation, and this and that. And so then I said, no, I don't think so. I'll figure it out. So when is that okay?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I will tell you, any hacker that is trying to get into your system will definitely sound nice, and they will talk about anything and everything. They will manipulate you to get into your data. So you definitely have to be on guard. The only time I would let someone remote in is if I called them personally, or I knew them. From having that pre-established relationship with the managed service provider. So if somebody calls you out of the blue and wants to get into your system, and you don't have any verification of their identity, or you don't have a prior relationship with them, then it's not a great idea to let them into your system.
I hope everybody's listening to that. And one more thing, and then I want to hear how people work with you, like what your process is and what that onboarding looks like. So the same conversation before I got to this person, I had to verify my information. And so the first person asked me for my complete social security number. And I said to her, oh, I don't think so. I don't think I should be giving you the whole number. I've never, it's always the last 4 digits. So I said, I'm not actually going to give you the whole number. So you can take it or leave it. And so she said, okay, what are the last 4? So I said, before I tell you, why did you ask me for all of them? And she said, actually, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have asked you for all the digits. So don't give out your social security number, right?
Right, absolutely. That and that can be really scary too. Once you've had a call like that and you feel like you may have been taken advantage of or someone was trying to, that can definitely be scary. And yes, you should never give out your social security information, and especially if people are calling you. I would ask them, so say it's your cable company or your phone company, I would just ask them, is there a phone number I can call you back on just to verify, or call the main company back to start that process again. So unless you were like expecting a phone call from that service provider, or if you've been able to verify their identity, I wouldn't confirm any information.
Great.
Excellent. Everybody, listen up, okay? These are important messages. Great information. You have so much knowledge. What does the process look like for someone to work with you?
No, I appreciate that. So I work with executives from a coaching perspective, mainly through my company, the Future Advisory Board. And what that is basically an annual coaching program and kind of a pre-incubator where I bring together forward-thinking thought leaders who have a solution or are wanting to work on a project that is helping to build a better future. So that is my company. I also do contracting with the company called Nodeware, which we are hosting a free small and mid-sized business cybersecurity webinar series where we're doing free webinars talking about these kind of cybersecurity basics and how to ensure that you're protecting your company. You are aligning to different frameworks like the NIST cybersecurity framework, or if you're doing any kind of government contracting, you've got the CMMC, which is a cybersecurity maturity model that all government contractors have to at least come up to the level 1 in order to work with the federal government. So if you're anywhere in that respect and you're interested in the free webinar series, I encourage you to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to invite you to those. And then finally, we do a Clubhouse call every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, called Cybersecurity Week in Review. And it is an open format, open forum where you can show up, ask questions. You can talk about, we've had some big incidents or hacks that have happened recently, like Kicero, which is a software platform that managed services providers use that was recently hacked. And we talked about that. There's just a conference called Black Hat and Con that's just wrapping up that we talk about things like that as well. So if you want to just get a little bit more immersed into the world of cybersecurity, maybe hear some of the scary stories and then also some of the solutions and what people are doing about them, I encourage you to join us on Clubhouse 2 p.m. And you can find that through my either Instagram profile or my my Clubhouse profile as well at Christa Mariah.
Fantastic. Thank you. You answered all the other questions I had about how people can get in touch with you. So thank you. It's been such a pleasure meeting you. I love the work that you're doing, and I'll try to hop over into your Clubhouse room because it sounds really fascinating.
I'd love that. And yeah, Al, I'd love to hear more, learn more about the work that you're doing, because I think as we're evolving into this virtual frontier where, we're going from, we've got this physical world, we've got the digital world that we're engaging on right here. And then we've got the virtual world with VR and Web 3.0 and the spatial web, where we'll actually overlay information onto our physical world. And then we have the spiritual world, which is, has been around forever. And my purpose is in really aligning all of those together and helping to make this next era one of abundance and of really following your purpose and your passion. So I love the work that you guys are doing and appreciate this time and opportunity.
Well, I just sent you my email address, and the part of you that most intrigues me, I mean, cybersecurity is obviously an important issue. It's great to know somebody who knows as much and knows as many people in that field as you do, because those connections, I think, are valuable. But your ultimate futurist value proposition is helping people build a society that's purposeful and intentional in the future using the technology we've created now that we've figured out how to secure it. So I sent you my email address, and I also asked you for your complete social security number.
Perfect.
Did you provide your bank information?
That was a test, by the way. If you give it to me, then that tells me something.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you again, Christa. I hope you have safe travels wherever it is you end up, and please come back and see us, because I really do appreciate what you're doing.
Great.
Wow, I'd love to. And thank you for the time and opportunity. It was a great conversation. Thank you both.
Thank you. And by the way, if you just joined us, or even for Christa, anyone following, you can watch this on the replay over on USA Global TV on YouTube, or you can go to Facebook or LinkedIn, but go to our YouTube channel. That would be best. All right. Thank you, Christa. Take care of yourself. Bye.
That was a great interview.
Well, yes, it was. She answered so many questions that I have, and I've always been fascinated with technology. My dad was always a beta tester. He was always somebody who wanted to be one of the first ones to try whatever the technology was. So I'm into it.
Yeah, that's good and bad. But I mean, Microsoft keeps offering me a pre-release version of Windows 11 to try out. And you know what? Nah, I'll wait. I'm not in that much. I want to, when the blood is dried up and cleaned up off the floor, then maybe I'll consider upgrading to Windows 11. So, but the whole psychology behind hacking is so interesting, because a lot of people, and the media kind of portrays them this way. They imagine hackers as nerdy little weirdos who sit in the basements of their parents' houses with a million screens in front of them, and they know all the code in the operating system. But the reality is that really successful hackers work you human before they work your technology. They call you, they make a relationship with you. It's a scam like any scam ever in history. It's more preying upon the human foibles than it is exploiting technical vulnerabilities. So that's why we need to be vigilant and careful in those calls from people who say that they represent Microsoft and they need your password, and those emails that say we have some questions about your account. Could you click here to learn more? Those are all traps. You just have to be aware of that.
And Al, you brought up a really good point, because I have to think that while we've been going through this pandemic, there are a lot of people who are very lonely. They're very isolated. They're dependent on their technology. And just to have somebody reach out, they might be like, oh, I could use a friend, or I need somebody to talk to, or I'm not really sure how this works. And then they fall into the trap.
That's true. That's very true.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for our show today. Where can people reach you, Mr. Al Cini, and who should contact you?
I am reachable at al.cini@getbcat, getbcat.com. We also have a toll-free number, 855-999-BCAT. If you're thinking about throwing a team building event, we have a very different, much more effective way to do it than pizzas and paintball. And love to talk to you about that. And just love what I do. It's so much fun connecting people with their purpose. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure having you here today, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
I'll be back, as they say.
All right.
Thanks, Doc.
All right. Thank you. Bye. We've got another show coming up after this. It's In the Name of Love, and my co-host is Kimmy Seltzer, and we are welcoming back Rosemary Lloyd. I just wanted to talk very quickly about something I'm about to do. I'm actually in the process of training before the actual thing. So I was listening to Clubhouse, Breakfast of Champions. I try to tune in every day, and they were talking about this challenge called 75 Hard. And so I looked it up on the internet while they were talking. And of course I thought, oh, this seems really difficult. So it's something I'm very interested in because I always want to push myself to the next level. So I purchased the book. The book came. It's called 75 Hard, A Tactical Guide to Winning the War with Yourself. And by the way, I'm not a paid spokesperson. No one's asked me to say this or do this, but I decided to go ahead and do this because I always want to see how mentally and physically tough I am and what bad habits I have that if I broke them, what might come free inside of me in terms of creativity or accomplishing things I never thought I could. So the reason I bring it up is if you would like to join me in this challenge, I would love to have you. I started a private Facebook group. I have one person from Dubai who's going to do it with me, which I absolutely love, but I would love to have anybody and everybody who wants to join me. I'm starting on Sunday. You don't have to start then, but it's interesting in the book. The author, Andy Frisella, he talks about the fact that people always make excuses. Well, I can't do it now because, and I can't do, and it reminded me, and then I'll wrap up. My dad was a car dealer, and I worked for him for a while, and some of the salesmen, and maybe even me at times, would say, well, we're not going to sell any cars today because it's raining. Or we're not going to sell any cars today because it's sunny. Nobody's going to come in. Or always an excuse. So that's why I decided to take this challenge. And I was going to actually start September the 1st. And one of my family members was over and said, you know, why are you putting it off? So I'm starting on Sunday so that I can go to the grocery store, get the food that I need. And I already started doing 2 workouts a day for 45 minutes each, drinking a gallon of water. So again, if you'd like to join me, just reach out to me, Jacalyn at drjacalyn.com. And I'd love to have you there with me as we do this together and see what we can find out about ourselves. All right. Thank you again for being here. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Krista. We'll look forward to seeing you at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. British Summer Time for In the Name of Love.